the jump-off point. I am Sly.
And I'm Spook.
And I'm the Chief.
We have just rewatched The Last Jedi on Blu-ray. The first time we've watched it since it originally came out. And we're actually going to talk about how we feel about it after our first viewing. But before we started, I thought we'd actually sort of look at some of the defences of The Last Jedi. Things people are saying about others who are criticising it. And probably the main one is you don't like it because it's different.
Are you talking to me?
Anyway,
Are you talking to me?
I don't like because it's bad.
I mean, it's actually interesting because like people say you don't like it because it's different, and you get this a lot. It is different, but it's just not very good.
It's not a Star Wars film.
And that's the problem. Like I was thinking about this, earlier in the week. I was thinking, if you look at the original Star Trek movies with William Shatner, Leonard Nimoy, and that, Star Trek 4 was vastly different. And I remember when they were talking about making it, was like, I said, it's a little comedy, going back in time to say some else, but geez, this sounds really stupid. And it's really well done. And it was the biggest grossing Star Trek movie. You can do different things, but you need to do them well. The storytelling needs to be good. The Last Jedi, does it? Do you think it does something different well?
It takes shit to a new level.
One of my favourite defences is people who hated the prequels and yet will defend this movie and say, well, they did it in the prequels. It's like, well, you can't use a movie you condemn as your defence as to why a narrative choice is made in this new movie. It's explained in the novelisation, deleted scenes, the director explains it in the commentary, any plot point that is just not fleshed out. You got that time, that window to tell your story, you're telling it in that story. I'm not going to pursue additional material to actually find out why things work out the way they do.
That's a get out of jail though for a lot of films these days.
Yeah.
I'll make a comic book to explain stuff after the fact.
Yeah.
And I'll do another 7 books of prequel that's now canon that I just decided to put in place so that you can buy, and now it explains everything.
Or I'll just tweet this missing plot point.
The disqualifiers, we've got one in our previous review. The only people who don't like this are misogynists, sexists, people who, hate Disney and all that. And the people who say this just basically try to close down an argument before you can make it. They say, well, you're this thing if you hate it. And that annoys me. It's like, well, you're not open to a discussion. You're just totally indemnifying the movie from any form of criticism. And the final thing, why are you picking on it? Every movie has problems.
It's not fair.
Why? Every movie has...
They made $1.5 billion. It's not fair you're picking on my film.
But you know what I actually find amazing about that is you get people who say, why are you picking on it? Every movie has problems. But these people will pick on movies when a certain threshold is hit. It's just that their tolerance for shit is a lot higher. So it's, we might be down here when we go, oh, this has now hit our shit meter. Whereas other people go, oh, I'll accept that, I'll accept it, I'll accept it. No. And these people will still pick on movies. So, they're the sort of defences that have come out, not just about this movie. You look at the DC universe with the, what's the name of that character? The guy that wears the blue and the red cape.
Super Slam?
Slam Man?
SummerSlam?
Emo Man? I don't know. A lot of people defend the DC movies, under one of these pretenses, it's different, you don't like it and all that sort of shit. But, there's actually people who have valid criticisms, constructive criticisms, who are just dismissed because people don't want to hear them. But anyway, so I thought we'll start first with, person who used to be everyone's favourite character, Luke Skywalker. In this movie, how much did you find the person had become probable?
It's me. I'll go. As Mark Hamill said, it's not. He's Luke Skywalker, it's not my Luke Skywalker either.
He called it Jake Skywalker.
Yeah, Jake. You could never see Luke getting to this particular point after 15 years. You can never see him getting to such a dispirited, defeated person that's decided just to give it all up and let the galaxy burn.
Until he's seen the movie.
Until he's seen the movie. And yeah, I couldn't reconcile, doesn't matter what happened, that he could get to that particular position.
Spooky?
Yeah, I don't think the means for him to become so despondent was strong enough. This is a guy that could see the best in people and thought he could redeem Vader quite comfortably, and stood in Kylo Ren's tent one day and said, "Oh, it's a bit dark in here. Let me turn my lightsaber on to light the way." I just had the right one because there's about 58 interpretations of that moment. I can't remember
We'll
all.
get to that.
But it just seems completely unlikely. Yeah, and this is something I think we covered in the original review. Is it's just baffling to think that for everything that was fought for and achieved in those middle three movies, just to throw it away now. I've had enough. I can't deal with this. It just doesn't fit with the character as I knew him. And not that I knew him, other than what I saw on TV.
You might have known their other cousin, Hector Skywalker. I think he works at a 7-Eleven. Actually, what you said there really nails it. I was reading, coincidentally, I just read this, that Al Pacino disagreed with the way Michael Corleone was portrayed in The Third Godfather, that he'd be remorseful. Al Pacino goes, I don't think Michael would ever be remorseful. And I was thinking about that, I was thinking that's interesting because an actor sort of disagrees with the writer and director's interpretation. But that's the other thing, that you look at that Michael Corleone character, he's killed his brother, he's orchestrated the murder of countless people, he's been his terror. I can actually see that later on, you know what, there's probably some part of his brain that just ticks over and goes, shit.
Well, he started not being in that world as well, till he was in his early 20s anyway. So that he still has a base that wasn't. So
I can see that
person,
and I can see that tick over. So I could justify because I thought, well, because that actually does happen. You see criminals who get sent to jail for 30, 40 years, and they go, 20 years to the sentence. Shit, I really regret what I did. With Luke, it's what you said. I just don't see how he went from this hopeful character to this, I sense a bit of darkness. I should kill him. Whereas to me, the very first thing you do, if you sense some darkness in Kylo, from the very beginning, the first thing I imagine anybody would have done, other than Jake, is I'm going to find the source of this and I'm going to address it.
Well, he actually did. In it, he actually says, I sense there's some darkness coming out of him as the training went through. And then that's when he decided to have a look and, saw more evil.
Yeah, but I'm saying I would have thought he would have investigated.
You would have said, why has he got this and what can I do? Yeah. What's happening?
There's one other thing
checking it then.
Adjacent to that happened that Luke talked about the fact that Kylo had been lost to Snoke already, I think, when he was in the Dark Tent, 2 Men Alone. You go back to the prequels and all the time that Sidious invested into turning Anakin, Palpatine or whoever it was at the time. How did Snoke manage to get hold of Kylo?
It's not relevant. According to Ryan Johnson, it's not relevant. Snoke's history and all the rest is irrelevant to the whole film.
But we're told in the film that Luke took Ben Solo and a couple of other young men away from society into darkened tents and started training them. So when does Snoke get involved with Ben Solo?
Well, Snoke also has this.
It's sort of like he's not like someone that was incognito quite easily. I think Snokey boy. He's pretty distinct looking.
But the one, Star Wars has always been science fantasy. There's no science or anything involved in it. But there's like loose rules. Now in Fast Awakens, they have the Starkiller base which flies through subspace to obliterate planets.
That happens all the time, though.
And it shoots faster than the speed of light because, you see they shoot at the Republic homeworld and they destroyed it in about 4 seconds. So they changed the rules entirely. And in this one, Snoke has that bridge, that hyperspace bridge where you can communicate and bridge people together.
Yeah, but Kylo was surprised when he found out it was him.
Yeah.
But never find out. So he does this bridge and never finds out where Rey is, which is the other stupid thing.
Maybe Snoke had a funny voice when he did it. Ben! It's me! Not Snoke!
But this is one thing that's really prevalent in this film. They just change rules to make plot points workable. Whereas you'd look at it like, well, how could you actually bridge these two people? And in terms of turning...
I think the technical term for that is pushing shit uphill.
And in terms of reaching Ben, how would have you reached him? And
that's what I was asking.
And but then you also look at the thing, Kylo's whole fixation is on Darth Vader and finishing what Darth Vader started. So presumably Snoke's going...
Maybe he stood over him in bed and with they played some Van Halen and said, "My name is Darth Vader from the planet Vulcan. Ben Solo."
But it's like, how do you sell this whole thing? And that's what I find really... on the information we're given, I find it really difficult to believe that A, Kylo would turn, and then B, Luke would just go, sense some darkness in, I just better chop him up.
Well, then you got to think, not only does Kylo turn, he then kills half a dozen of the other trainees, and turns the other half a dozen to the dark side. So
we never see it again.
we never see it again. But yeah, that's basically what he's done. So not only did he turn, not only did he kill Luke, for example, or what he thought he killed Luke, he killed another half a dozen kids and other trainees and turned another half a dozen. So how did a guy get to a point that he could actually do all that?
I have no idea. And just still on Luke, there's memes on the internet which say, well, after Yoda fought the Emperor, he exiled himself to Dagobah, and after Obi-Wan cut up Anakin and left him on the bank, Obi-Wan banished himself to Tatooine. And I go, well, it makes sense that Luke would just leave after his failure with Kylo, because that's what Jedi do.
Piss off and go and sulk.
Yeah, piss off, go and sulk. I mean, how do you find that as a parallel? Because that's like a big defence.
That's stupid.
I agree, it's stupid.
You got to think it's totally different circumstances. Yoda left because basically all the Jedi were killed, and Obi-Wan left to look after Luke and make sure Luke, as he was growing up, was in effect protected and hidden. Whereas Luke's still there. Luke still as part of what supposedly is a full-on galactic republic.
Yeah, on the information we're given, the Republic's in the ascendancy here. They should be in the height of their power. While the threat of the First Order is rising. So you'd think that he's, particularly because Snoke's driving the First Order and he's force power, you think Luke would say, that's what I've got to concentrate on.
Yeah, look, I can handle it that if he nicked off for a year, like as you said, if he nicked off for a year to try and find answers, and he actually went to that planet because that was the original Jedi temple and tried to find answers. And in the first movie, when it said Luke Skywalker's disappeared, I actually thought, alright, he's been lost for a year, and then you find out later he's been gone for 15 years and all these other things have happened, which made no sense. So I can see he's gone for a bit and then try to find more information to figure out how to
which didn't happen.
So which didn't happen. So it's ridiculous.
And that goes to the other point. So he went to this Jedi planet to die.
And left the instructions on how to
left them up
because I think Yoda and Ben did the same thing too. It was a forwarding address they left at the post office. Which, if you need me, I'm hiding here.
Must be paying for 15 years.
So
make sure
that makes absolutely no sense. Why would you leave a map if you're just going off to die? And people go, maybe it's an attention seeking. It's like, well, if that's your defence of who Luke Skywalker become, he's totally condemned the Jedi Order, and yet he goes to the Jedi planet. He whinges about how bad the Jedi are, but he does nothing about these texts. And I know people will say, well, he's still holding tenuously onto this, this great order. But this is like where a whole lot of the fucking movie doesn't make sense. It's like, so he goes off to die, leaves the map, and even though he hates the Jedi Order, he goes to the Jedi planet.
I can handle him going to the Jedi planet if he's going to die, because it's fine. So potentially, like I said, he still harbours some Jedi sympathies and all the rest of it, and if you want to go the fully opposite way, he's gone there to make sure no one else gets the books and can do anything. Leaving a map tour is ridiculous, and not only just leaving a map, leaving a secret map that has a key piece in
the other funny thing,
R2 is stupid.
The other funny thing is Han Solo says he has gone off to find the Jedi Temple. But apparently he's found it, then sent a map back to find him. So it's not like he was going, I'm going there and I'm leaving a map so people will know I'm there. He's actually gone there and then said, I'm going to fucking die, but I better send this map out first.
Secret map.
Yeah. And I'll split into two pieces.
Yeah, the secret map.
Any thoughts on that, Spooky?
No, I think we pretty much covered that all.
Alright, so Luke's in this despondent state. He's suicidal apparently, and yet Yoda waits, 30 years to come to him again. Yoda waits until he's having some,
And he makes a point about saying, well, we lost Ben Solo, we can't lose Rey.
Yeah.
Well, where was your fucking sage wisdom in the previous movie? You couldn't come and tap him on the shoulder before he went into the tent. we can't lose this one. No, don't go in there with the lightsaber. Don't fucking listen to me.
There's surely got to be a deleted scene where like the ghost Yoda and the ghost Obi-Wan are just talking and Yoda's
shaking their heads.
He's going, Skywalker, he's gone!
Skywalker's such an idiot, he's the same as he was!
I'm out of here! It's just again, it's just sort of like things happen because they need to happen.
And then 30 years after, Yoda's got enough force power to call down lightning to hit and burn the tree.
And he's still in the cane. He's
still got the cane.
He's a ghost Yoda, but he's still got a cane.
Ghost Yoda with
he's
force.
Still groaning as he walks around and all this sort of shit. I mean, that's just baffling, The other thing I found really interesting, Luke's arc. I mean, he sort of has a little bit of redemption, but the really interesting thing is that all happens off screen. Everything, we see the character as he is, it's all happened off screen. So we just get handed this guy who's this embittered prick. And then we're sort of all sitting there disoriented going, who is this guy? I mean, to the point that Mark Hamill has come out himself and said, that's not my Luke Skywalker. I think of him as Jake Skywalker.
More than once too.
Yeah. And it's really interesting because the last time I think we did the review, we talked about whether Hamill would come out in time and sort of criticise the movie. And we were saying, oh, yeah, maybe 5-10 years to write a bio. I think about 3 days later, he came out and just shit on the movie. And then about a week later, he came out and goes, oh, no, you know, I don't dislike the movie. I understand that they've, you know, gone a different direction, all that. And he was sort of towing the company line for quite a bit. But recently, he's just come back out and shit on it again. He said, you know, they had enough time for me to milk an alien, but they didn't have enough time for me to show any human, you know, emotion about, you know, Han or Leia or any of that sort of stuff.
And that's surprising. You know, his best mate Han, you know, dies, and he's like, it's barely mentioned. There's nothing in it.
It's more or less off screen.
Yeah, it's nothing
off screen.
at all.
And that's that. A lot of Luke's stuff happens off screen. You don't see it. You just get delivered this guy and go, this is who he is. Any last thoughts on Luke's plot? Also, you know, his part in the movie, his part in the resurgence of the rebellion.
The best scene is the bit with him and Kylo as he comes at the end. I mean, in the whole film, that's the best scene. If you take that scene in its own, that's the best. Yeah, that's the best scene. That has a bit of the oomph and the feeling that I had with Star Wars. The rest of Luke, I'm with Hamill. It wasn't Luke. It was some other guy. And how could he get beaten up? And we're going to go to if we go to I don't care if we go to later. He gets beaten up by Rey.
Right, now we'll go to that later.
It's
but
just ridiculous.
The other thing too is, and you know, it sort of ties in with Luke. He's just Poe there. You know, Finn's going, we should go out and help him. Poe's going, well, hang on, he's delaying it. He wants us to get away. You think surely Luke would have maybe given them that information before he walked out. Maybe he would have said, I'll delay him a few minutes. You follow the ice foxes. They're going to take you to a blockage, but don't worry, Rey will be there.
Although, I mean, just in closing, I guess for me, the very first opening scene of this film set the tone. The very first scene with Luke, where he tosses the saber over the shoulder, which is terrible, set the tone for what Luke's character is going to be like. So there's no blurring of lines here.
No,
you were dealt the shit card right from the start.
All right, so if you're going to have like a really good hero's journey, you need good villains. What do you think of the villains in this, not just this movie, but this universe at the moment? You have Snoke, you have Kylo Ren.
You had Snoke.
You had Snoke. You got two Snokes now. You had Snoke, you had Kylo Ren, you have General Hux, and you have Captain Phasma.
They're all fucking terrible.
Do you think they're that good?
The Hux is just a comic relief sidekick buffoon that's terrible.
But there's worse in this film.
Phasma's just a non-existent entity.
Hux should be a German in Hogan's Heroes. That's how badly she is portrayed. He is terrible. He is has no credibility, and I can't. You go back to the original trilogy where Darth Vader's choking people who fail him, and then meanwhile you get this idiot who's just basically doing slapstick comedy, getting thrown around by one guy another with the Force because he's failed them. Surely, if you were like one of his followers, you'd just be going.
He's demeaned in every scene.
I think the leader First Order.
Yeah, I mean, if you showing up your number 2 as a buffoon every 8 seconds, what's the rest of the First Order thing of him? Yeah, fucking. Because I mean, that other guy at the start, where those fighters. I mean, everyone's in contempt of the guy.
But even the guy that was next to him said, I think he's playing you for a fool or whatever he said, you know. It's like, well, no, it's taken, you don't even get that. I've got that. I have to tell you that that's actually happening, so you're an idiot. Whereas in the first one, you had Tarkin, Grand Moff Tarkin, and he actually had some presence versus Vader, you know. He actually, so was this guy's useless.
Tarkin's established really well.
Yeah,
because you get that bit where Vader's choking the other guy and Tarkin just says, releasing Vader. And you understand that this guy's got a bit of authority, but also when they go to, I forgot the planet that Leia said the rebellion was on. Dantooine, yes. And, Tarkin takes them there and, Tarkin takes them to Alderaan and, Leia goes, okay, they're on Dantooine. And Tarkin goes, okay, we'll just blow up Alderaan anyway. It's too far to make,
far too trusting.
Yeah. And that's like really good. It shows that this guy is just an unimaginable prick. He's got presence. Meanwhile, got, Hux going, can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Again and again and again.
Yeah.
But what you need is just someone to cut those scenes together of Hux with some Benny Hill music. That would just probably stitch him up perfectly.
But you look at the other villains too. Kylo Ren just constantly has tantrums. Whenever something doesn't go his way, he has a
smash something.
Yeah.
Hold smash, Kylo smash.
And you go to that scene with the helmet where, Snoke goes, oh, well, get rid of that ridiculous scene. You think a real good passage would be if Kylo just said, okay, that was my childhood where I idolised Vader. I'll just leave that behind, and I'm entering this new maturation.
Because his whole thing's all about get rid of the past.
Yeah.
Forget the past. So he forgot that he should just
I think that was a directive though.
Yeah. But he should have just dropped it and moved on and shown newfound maturity. But instead, he just smashed it into the elevator wall about 98 times. And it's like, oh, okay, so you're just going to still have your fits, and that's all he does throughout this movie. He did it all the way through the first movie. He just has a little tantrum when he doesn't get what he wants. He's just a child. And I don't know if the message is meant to be that he's just a child in a position of power. I actually don't think that both filmmakers are going that layered with...
I suspect... Look, I give it a bit more benefit there. I think that's what they're trying to show him, that he has no maturity, that he's kind of off... And he's a child, and he still acts a child with a lot of power. And I think that's what they're trying to get at now. I don't know what they can do with the third one, but I think that's how they portrayed it. And, if that's what they're trying to do, and that's the way they're trying to do it, it had some success in it, because you're right, all he does is chuck a tank.
But then you need to move on. That's the point I'm trying to make. It's like, if you're going to, let's get rid of the helmet, let's move into a new phase, but he just still has these little fits. That's where he should just drop the helmet and said, okay, I'm going to now take a step up. Snoke, who is shown as being extremely powerful.
And extremely stupid.
Yep.
Oh, and then he narrates the whole movement of when he's about to get killed. I mean, some of that's sort of a little bit clever, but at the same time, fuck.
I didn't mind Snoke. Snoke had potential to do something with, and the way that he died, I actually didn't mind. I thought, because he was just bagging the shit out of Kylo, I thought that's, it's like you beat up a dog, when you see the dog's master turns against the... Yeah. It's the same sort of concept here. So I didn't mind that that's how he got killed, and he had some potential, but you don't do it now, you do it later on. And they never explain it. It's like you said, they never explain how did he get... Well, how did he get Ben Solo? And the other, how did he get so powerful when you got the Emperor and Darth? Where was he running around? Was he doing a Yoda and hiding himself on Dagobah 2?
That's an establishment of this whole premise. In the novelisation of Fast Awakens, we were talking about this, where it says that Leia was trying to warn the Republic that the First Order was rising, and nobody believed her, so she formed this little resistance band, which is just extremely improbable. But you look at the resources at their disposal: the Starkiller base, this ship that Snoke has, which is 12 times the size of anything else, and all these Star Destroyers.
Plus dreadnoughts.
Yeah. And nobody noticed this was happening, and the Republic were just so complacent only like 15 years after their victory that they're going, oh yeah, no, that's good.
All these resources are not going anywhere. I don't know what happened to all those Star Destroyers. Who knows where they're sitting around?
Ship in the sky tonight.
It got parked around somewhere. It's a garage somewhere, running out of fuel.
I don't actually think this universe established really well, but the prequel story might have actually been interesting about how he gets established, how he seduces Ben, and how Luke sort of gets despondent. If you actually explored that might have been interesting. What they're giving us now is just all the results of everything, which just accept this on face value, and it's just so improbable.
And that's the biggest knock on from Fast Awakens, is that you just got fuck all answers.
Nothing.
And that question posed 15,000. What the hell? Why did this happen? How did you get hold of that? And just completely ignored it, jumping to this.
And everyone was hoping that they'd explain it. Everyone was saying, no, like you said at the start, no, they'll explain it in the next film. They'll explain it in the next film. And they never explained anything.
They pinned a lot of suspense on, we will explain it.
That's right.
And they might still explain it, but to me it's like, well, this was where you need to explain it, or at least tease an explanation. You can't just sort of go, oh, well, no. Because if J.J. Abrams now comes in and explains it, to me it's just going to seem like he's answered fan dissatisfaction. He's just decided, oh, well, I better retcon this and give some explanation.
That's all for the affirmation that there's two conflicting stories at war here, and the guy that started the first one's going to resolve the fact that I don't like what this other guy did.
Who obviously didn't like what he did in the first instance.
I think we said this way back in the start. There's no sense in any of this that there's
no continuity.
There was an arc there to be explored. you ripped off Star Wars in your first film. Where do we go here? Well, we're not going to answer anything that we exposed over here.
And Jedi.
We're just going to do something different. And then
rip off Empire.
Then we'll give it back to the other guy, and he can clean up the mess at the end. I just don't see how this is going to knit. It can't possibly.
It's not going to knit because it's not knitted now. So there's no way you can just sort of produce a result where you can look at it and go, oh shit, I just totally missed all these clues, which was actually suggested in this end, like something like Sixth Sense, where you see all these scenes and you take them at face value, but then when you see them in retrospect, you go, oh, that actually was all pointing to something else. They haven't done that here. It's just going to be a whole lot of shit which they're constantly retconning on the go, and it reminds me a lot of Lost, the TV series.
Aptly named.
Yeah, and for the first couple of seasons I watched it until I just realised you're just going to tease answers and then keep pitching new questions, and you're going to keep just adapting because you want this show to ongoing. That's what this feels like. I mean, it really feels like just they're improvising constantly.
They're trying to kill the previous 6 films, basically, and trying to kill trying to kill. But all right, all you people, don't worry about that. And you know, I'm starting again, and I'm just going to start with what I really want, and I'm just going to change it so that the universe looks what I want.
So, let's look at the lead in this series, Rey. All right, firstly, compare Rey to Luke. So Luke was the protagonist in the original series. Rey's the protagonist here. In the original series, Luke's this stupid little farm boy, really naive, really idealistic. He almost gets beat up in the cantina. Obi-Wan saves him. He goes with Obi-Wan. He beats up some stormtroopers. Then when he flies down the trench, he's about to get shot, and then Han saves him. Han saves him on Hoth. Luke fails on Dagobah repeatedly. Just, fails to lift the X-Wing. He fails in the cave. And then Luke goes to face Vader and gets his ass handed to him. And then Luke has to be saved from that city by Leia. And then in Return of the Jedi, he has a good little moment of triumph on Jabba's barge. You don't know how much of that was planned and how much of that was just him, winging it. But then he faces Vader again. He defeats Vader, but the Emperor just, smashes him then. And then Vader has to save him. So, of all those encounters, Luke's probably come out triumphant 2.5 times. And the rest he's failed. But because he's failed, he's actually grown from it. In Fast, Rey beat up these people who were trying to steal BB-8 from the beginning. She flew the Millennium Falcon expertly. She does get stopped by Kylo, but that only really leads to her rebuking him when he probes her with the Force. She then uses the Jedi mind trick, which she's never seen, on a stormtrooper. She then fights Kylo and beats him, and people go, well, but Kylo was actually injured. Well, in this movie, they were both fucking fit, and she still beat him again.
And that happened 2 days after she figured out that there is the Force, by the way. Not just that she knows how to use the Force, there is the Force.
So she beats Kylo. In this movie, she beats Luke up. She beats Kylo again, and then when they're flying the Millennium Falcon into that planet at the end, she's just picking everyone off at a whim. All these TIE fighters, where you look at Luke and Han could barely hit anyone in the New Hope when they were flying the Death Star, in the turrets, and they were celebrating when they got one. Luke's going, oh yeah, look, I got him. After 900 shots, he got him all done. She was just picking them off with, if she was playing Gallagher, she would have had like 98% accuracy.
She had the double ship going.
It's like, what?
And then you forget the rocks.
Oh, and then she lifts the whole rocks. Not just one or two, it's like a lot of rocks, and you're thinking, geez.
Up the mountains,
Luke couldn't lift, a single, X-Wing out of the swamp, and she's lifting 100 rocks all at the same time. And it's like, what is this character's arc? Where does she go? She's already beaten the antagonist twice. The key antagonist, or whatever you want to call him, the superior antagonist in Snoke, he's dead. Or maybe he'll come back.
Assuming he's dead.
I hope he's dead.
No, he'll come back.
You pinned a lot of her story on her identity, and now you've just said, oh, you're just nobody. And we were talking about this as we were watching it. If she was the granddaughter of Obi-Wan, or, Luke's daughter or whatever, you can understand why she has so much power and why she has so much potential, and maybe why she has a little bit of skill. That she's absolutely nobody, and all this fell in her lap, and she can just master everything without even ever trying, and actually emerge triumphant in all these encounters. It's like, why is that an interesting character? She's fucking dead boring. You just know any encounter she runs into, she's probably going to emerge triumphant. And if she doesn't, it's only to put her in a position so she can emerge triumphant later.
For me, she's, we've talked about this before, she's stronger after 6 days of knowing that there actually is a Force. I don't know how long it is between the start and the end of this film. she's stronger now than Anakin was after 10 years of training under Obi-Wan, that Luke was after training under Yoda and Obi-Wan after 6 days. And she's no one from nobody. More skill, more strength, which is ridiculous. It just doesn't work. What you've done is you've thrown out all the history of the Jedi and everything that you had previously about training and all the rest of it. You said, I don't like those things. I'm just going to have this superstar that comes in and it just can do everything, but we'll just say that she's naive about doing everything, but she still does everything.
But she does it without any instruction, without any frame of reference. She just does it. She does whatever is required.
You doesn't even try and fail. It's just good at it right from the outset.
Yeah, and it's even like her ability with the lightsaber. She has ability with a pike. We see that in Fast Awakens. But you'd imagine swinging a piece of wood around is a little bit different to swinging around, a laser sword, as they call it. And a sword to a pike is a different weapon. She swings it around
and fighting in general, and then she beats up half of Snoke's red shirts.
Yeah.
So they are red shirts because, like Star Trek, they just get killed. We just need the red.
He's wearing a red
shirt. I should be careful. But they're just red shirts. She just beat them up, and these are meant to be, you'd think, the elite of the elite. Had years and years of training, and she's basically beat them up with the laser sword that she's never had any training with.
But it's just so fucking boring.
And hand-to-hand combat that she's never had training with.
It's really boring, and people go, if you don't like your sex, it's not, I don't like it, she's boring. She really, any situation, she'll have no problem. You compare that to like a couple of my favourite movies, and I know Spooks, similarly, Aliens by James Cameron. Ripley, fantastic character. She's frightened. She's woefully out of her depth, but she goes because she knows this is the right thing to do. And when the mission goes shit, and she actually takes command of these colonial marines, and you actually can find that believable. And throughout it all, she's fucking scared. She's terrified. It's even like that scene where Burke lets the two aliens loose to impregnate Ripley and Newt. She needs to be saved. She's actually banging on the window and she lights the smoke alarm, so Hicks blows the window open, and him and Hudson run in and they shoot the aliens. She needs to be saved. That to me is a really good character. Not that she needs to be saved because a woman needs to be saved by a man, but because she does have vulnerability, she does have weaknesses. Later on, she goes and faces the alien. You find that believable. She has this maternal instinct, but she goes to rescue Newt. If that was fucking Ray, she would have just ripped the heads off the two aliens, thrown them onto the window, let the acid burn through the window, stepped out, and bloody twisted off Berg's head. It's just boring. Similarly, Terminator is a really great movie because, again, you have Sarah Connor woefully out of her depth. She's pushed into extreme circumstances. She grows from it, and she takes command. And you look at the second movie, and you think, shit, that's who she became. She became this real badass. And you actually understand it because you're seeing the journey she took to get there, and yet she's still vulnerable. It's like when she goes to kill Miles Dyson, at the last minute she realised, I'm not a cold-blooded killer, I can't do this, I can't kill something cold-blooded. That's a fucking complex character. Ray is a boring, I'd be flattering her if I said she was one-dimensional. She would have to, be rounded out quite a bit to just get to one-dimensional. And it's like, where does this character go? What does she do?
What challenges are left? Maybe she can move planets.
Yeah, universal domination.
It's just and the way she treated Luke was fucking deplorable. She goes through his help and
she wasn't alone.
But she beats up Luke. It's like, I said this while watching it. She summoned the lightsaber when Luke started with Bester, and it's like you probably had an interesting tangent there you could have explored where she might have been tempted by the dark side. But you didn't do it. She could just do what the hell she wanted.
They never explored anything basically. And they were saying this movie is very bland. Yeah, you've got explosions all over, but it's very bland in everything that happens. No one, has any emotional resonance in any of it. It's all just ticking along. It's you don't invest in it at all. And she does nothing. They all do nothing in the end. You can't see.
Well, no one actually
anything happen.
No one actually shows any real fear other than the Porgs. The Porgs are the only ones who actually look a little bit frightened.
It's because they're going to get eaten.
And the amount of times they are just thrust into fucking little back shots and shit, just so objectionable.
Comic relief. 101.
Comic relief.
Any last thoughts on Ray? I mean, she's really been covered. People accuse her of being a Mary Sue, which is a fan-ridden super character in the first one, and people go, no, she's not that in this one. No, she's fucking definitely that in this one. The only time she fails is facing Snoke.
Yeah, this is she's leveled up.
The only time she fails is in facing Snoke, and if she didn't she overcame Snoke, then that's it. That's the end of the movie and your trilogy. But That was the only time she failed, but fucking everything else, she just succeeded again and again and again.
And she's no one from nobody, from a nothing planet, and she's basically besting, Ren, who's the second, supposedly, strongest force wielder on the dark side around. She's got no respect for Luke, who's a legend. So basically she's turned from, you're a legend, I don't want to do anything, to now I'm going to beat you up and you're not going to listen to me and I'm going to do whatever the hell I want.
That's also point spook, mate. In Fast Awakens, she's going, I thought Luke Skywalker was a legend. And in this movie, she's quoting, you did this, you did that.
6 days later.
Yeah. It's like, well, hang on, you didn't even think he existed. And it's like, why did she even go to fucking find him? That was a mixed message.
There was 3 lessons that she only learned 2 lessons out of. So just say, Luke says he's going to teach her 3 lessons. As we've talked about, Luke says he's going to teach her 3 lessons, and he teaches her the 2. They show the 2, and the third one, which I only found out now, is a deleted scene for the third lesson. Which you just changed the start bit. Say I'm going to teach you 2 lessons, not 3 lessons.
They should just put a scene in where Luke said, "Here's the 3rd lesson." That should have been it. That should have been. She's not a well-written character.
Maybe.
And I know people are going, "Oh, she's a fucking, she's a feminist icon and all that." In what world would any person, not just a female, would any person have that level of skill with no backstory?
Yeah, anyone. Like I said, Anakin the Chosen One, Luke is, but they were not even close to that, and they were meant to be. Anakin theoretically was the Messiah, bringing balance to the Force. So they were meant to be there, and they still took 10 years to get anywhere.
So let's look at her predecessor, which is Leia.
Mary Poppins. Mary Poppins.
Right. So in 2 movies. In 2 movies, she hasn't, apparently maybe she has, but she has not done 1 moment of Force training in the 30 years prior to these films occurring.
I don't think that's irrelevant anymore.
You don't need Force training. I mean, she never had the Resistance ring, the Rebellion ring. But
that happened after 2 weeks after them starting as being.
But she never had any Force ability, but yet she's blown up. Which you think the explosion would have killed everyone anyway? She's sucked into space, and then she, instinctively just uses the Force to float back in.
If you're a Force user, what do you need a spaceship for? Just go around everywhere and just fly around in space. What's Snoke doing in a ship? What's the point? Just go around and do whatever you want.
See, that I really would have liked in Fast. So it's not Rian Johnson's fault. It's J.J. Abrams' fault. I actually would have loved if there was a scene like Luke's first one in Jedi, Return of the Jedi, where you just see the gate open and the hooded figure comes in and he points at the guards and they both pass out. Would have loved if they just mirrored that at the beginning of Fast, and then you think, oh shit, that's Luke, really cool, and they do a close up and it's actually Leia. That would have been really cool. And you would have just from that you would have immediately inferred, okay, she's been training, because you would have thought that the Force training is probably more important than fucking this political bullshit she's been doing, and it would have actually given her some purpose in this story. But I guess it was. She actually did nothing in Fast, and she did nothing in this other than get blown up.
She wasn't even in command of the battle at the start. Basically, Poe decides to go renegade and attack the Dreadnought. Leia tells him to come back, don't do it. And then the rest of the ships go and attack the Dreadnought. And it's like, well, why are you listening to this dude over here rather than Commander Princess Leia and not go there and do that? It's just stupid.
Well, this is the thing that shifts me too. People look at this being progressively feminist type story because you have strong female characters. Surely she is the one you would have used as a strong female character, given she had the base in the original trilogy.
You'd think.
Exactly. Yeah.
Surely you would have pushed her to become, a Jedi and president of the, whatever Republic Chancellor, whatever the hell they have as their top rank,
or a Jedi Master.
Yeah, but both. Well, you'd have had them to do both. I don't know if maybe 10 years down the track they're going to say, Carrie Fisher physically wasn't up to filming more than she did, but from what we know, surely you could have done a lot better with that character. You ended up just pissing on her. She became like a token character who did nothing in both movies other than shout exposition.
Yeah, she was a nothing. Oh, you're right, nothing. I don't mind that she didn't become a Jedi or anything like that, because her background was all about politics and intrigue and all the rest of it from her dad, and being part of the council and the Senate and all the rest. So taking that path for me is fine. It's all right. But they never show it. They never explain where she got to. You would have thought that she would be close to being president for life, just about after the rebellion won. You know, she had, in effect, if you want, all the contacts, all the background, the history, but I mean, it didn't quite work.
These are all my inferences, so you can dismiss them. But like, I would have thought when she got pregnant,
I don't believe that one.
With Ben Solo,
No, that one either.
She would have said, I should pursue my force ability because he's got force ability. I would have thought that Luke said, because we need to maintain peace, we need as many Jedi as possible, you need to work in your force ability, let General Holdo fucking be president or whatever, You need to focus on this for now.
Maybe she couldn't slap men as well as Leia.
Should she slap her now? Alright, so it actually goes to Poe. He's the only one who has sort of an arc in his story. He begins as this tempestuous, hot-headed, I don't know, he's just really a grunt. Apparently he's gained no marquee at all from helping blow up the Starkiller base, because everyone treats him like shit in this movie. At the end of the movie, he becomes the new leader of the Resistance. But...
Rebellion.
Whatever. It's fucking... The clones. In terms of that character, he goes through this thing where he's trying to find out what is General Holdo's plan, and she just won't tell him. She will never tell him.
But everyone else knows.
Everyone else
knows. It's the whole rest of the fleet know. Even Finn and Rose know, and even the guy, Codebreaker, knows, but Poe doesn't know.
No. Well, why should...
It's ridiculous.
But... You look at that character, in terms of Holdo withholding that information, why would she withhold that information? I don't actually understand that.
And why, I don't understand either. And she's filling all the other escape pods or whatever you want to call it with petrol, which people are going to ask, why the hell are we doing that? And where are we going to go with them and all the rest? But you think they ask, you're not going to just listen to someone and just do it.
Ultimately, they explain it with two lines to him, these aren't going to be detected. We're going to go, we have the rebel base there.
Yeah, but what happens after that? They get down there, they lock themselves in, then what?
But I'm just saying...
What was going to happen beyond that?
The
first order... Yeah, but from where? The First Order were in orbit around there?
No, that's because they went in and the First Order didn't know they were going to be there. They were meant to be cloaked going down.
Don't think they saw that fucking giant planet in the background?
No, I'm assuming
that
all the freighters are cloaked, they go down there, the First Order blow up the ship that's still...
and go past.
Wouldn't have put two and two together pretty quick after?
I don't know. But I'm just sort of saying, in terms of Holdo withholding this plan, if the counter is, well, they're trying to teach Poe a lesson about, responsibility and patience and all that, your withholding information actually fucking drives him to mutiny. He actually decides to mutiny, he gets other people on board this mutiny, he holds them at gunpoint, Holdo and that, all because she just wouldn't give him this information, which everyone else apparently, except the mutineers had. I mean, it got to the point where it seriously felt like when they cut down the fucking door to get in there, like when he was in the bridge, and then the door cuts and Leia appears. I don't actually understand why they cut the door. I would have presumed that, Leia, who has this high rank, and fucking Vice Admiral Holdo would actually have override codes, but apparently they don't. They should have just had fucking Ashton Kutcher walk in and go, PUNT! And then shot him. It's just, why would you not tell him? It makes no sense. It makes no sense from any standpoint. It's indefensible.
But that's okay, because at the end they just said, I really like him.
Yeah, that's right. I really like him, and we can listen to him now at the end and follow him to follow the crystal balls.
We've humiliated enough, he can lead the rebellion.